Hello there, this video is all about making zombie snacks fun and helping you to beat all of the bosses with ease. I promise you that these are going to be some of the easiest boss fights of your entire life. None of the strats that I'm going to show you require you to use any Gobblegums, and certainly not any ultras. I think it's kind of dumb to be using them whilst you're trying to earn them. Now whatever you think of this event or Seth Rogen, I urge you to give zombie snacks a try. I mean, just look at the absolutely monstrous damage that you can do. That all comes from the flow state mechanic that we're going to get into. As usual, please make sure to make use of the chapters in the description to find the most relevant part for you. So what is it? Zombie Snacks is the LTM that arrived in Season 3 Reloaded and runs until the end of the season, so don't miss out on the rewards that you're seeing here. It's available across all maps in both Directed and Standard mode, with separate rewards for each map and difficulty version. Directed mode gives you a guaranteed Legendary and some other Gobblegums. Standard mode gives you a guaranteed Ultra along with a Gobblegum pack. To earn the rewards you have to complete the eggs, and trust me, you won't get many easier opportunities than this. You also earn a nice XP boost of 15,000 per map or mode, giving you a potential total gain of 150,000 XP. I've linked to this blog post in the description by the way, so you can read it at your leisure, but the headlines are that health is replaced with energy that does not auto-regenerate. Instead, you have to pick up snacks dropped by tenderizing the zombies. As usual, the energy bar depletes when you take damage, but in Standard it also depletes when you move, slide or mantle. You can regen by picking up snacks, drinking perks, using Gobblegums, stims, or picking up Lightmen glyphs. Biggest change to perks is that Quick Revive doesn't regenerate energy anymore. Instead, it grants buffs to the amount of energy return that you get. The best way to get the snacks is by entering the flow state, done by killing 10 zombies without taking damage. You'll see a purple haze effect at the bottom of your screen, and hear remixed versions of the music from Black Ops 6. And most importantly, you'll receive an astronomical damage buff. I really like the remixed versions of the music that they've got here. Taking damage will end the flow state until you can reactivate it, and there's no limits to how many times you go in and out of it. You'll also occasionally see the new refrigerator power-up drop. This makes every zombie you kill drop snacks. And you've also got a guaranteed drop of 3 snacks from killing special enemies. Overall, this is a much easier mechanic to manage than the crank timer, so please don't be put off by it. Energy depletion is slow and will stop at 1 HP or energy point, so you have a chance to recover, and going down doesn't end the game immediately if you have a self-res or a teammate to help out. Since the egg steps are the same and in many ways much easier, rather than create full guides for each of the quests, I'm going to give you some tips to make your games easier, but the main focus is going to be on the boss fights. I have my Shattered Veil guide up already, and I'm working on others at the moment, but there are lots of good guides out there, so if you're unsure of any of the steps, there's a ton of resources that you can reference, or you can play through them in Directed first, since there are rewards in that mode too, and you can get used to the egg steps. I'm also running a mini competition for this video where I'll take someone through a map of their choice, so leave a comment indicating the map you'd like help with and I'll choose one at random. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel and have liked the video. Please also check out one last resource, and that's the Discord that I've just started. I can help out with any questions you have on this or anything else related to zombies. We're trying to grow a great community to help people look for groups, but mostly just empower players to improve. It's also a space for casual speedrunners, with a particular focus on console speedrunning. We're going to be going through all the maps in release order, starting off with Liberty. There are a couple of general bits of advice that I can give you for pretty much any map. One of those is getting Jug early on. In the same way that it buffs your health, it's going to buff your energy points. And if you've got the Hardened Plates augment on, it's also going to reduce the amount of damage you take. As you've just seen from the Liberty footage, we are going to be using a variety of guns, but the main star of the show is going to be the Maelstrom. Treyarch have given it several buffs in its Pack-a-Punch state in this latest update. We're going to use the Dragon's Breath to help kill the zombies in the early rounds, the Monolithic Suppressor for a bit of extra range, and the Salvage drops, and the rest of the attachments are geared towards mobility. Taking a quick look at augments now, the most important ones here are for Juggernog, Speed Cola, and Elemental Pop. There are several others that can also really help you out, particularly ones like Voltrade for the Citadelle boss fight, but I'm going to go through these at a time. Otherwise, you can pause and just take a quick look at the augment setup I've got here, which applies for pretty much all of the gameplay. If there's an area where it requires a particular change from this, I'll be sure to highlight it. For the most part, they revolve around getting your field upgrades back quicker and being able to lay down as much damage as possible. I've been experimenting with a few of the different ones for double tap, and in this series of games I'm using double standard. Previously I've been using double impact, but I'm always using the extra rate of fire. For ammo mods, I'm going to strongly recommend you use dead wire. Light mend is also an option, but honestly, every time I used it I wished I had dead wire on. For field upgrades, Ether Shroud and Frenzied are going to be the main ones that we're using, particularly with the extension augments. For Frenzied, you may also want to add the Frenzied Fire. Energy Mine's also going to come in handy for a few points too. Now, kicking off with a gameplay, a tip for one of the pain points in Liberty is the water valve. First need to place the valve and then hold to interact, and as you're doing this, throw your combat axe. That will return your weapons. Now, if you keep holding interact, you'll be able to build pressure and shoot at the same time to protect yourself. If you're already in flow state when you do this, it's going to make it dead easy. And you'll be building the jet gun in no time. Next up, we're going to be bagging a free blue ether tool. Anytime after round 10, if you shoot this helmet on the church spire with your Mustangs, you'll hear the Easter egg completion sound. Series of drops of salvage, essence and the blue ether tool, as well as some score streaks are going to drop. This is going to save you a bunch of salvage. If you do run out of ammo and get into a pinch, don't forget you've got the jet gun special attack, which can wipe out a load of zombies and put you straight back into flow state. All the side eggs are active like normal, so if you want, you can make use of Etherella by dragging her ass into the church, although you won't really need this unless you're going in at a lower round. I also like to dump a couple of energy mines on the floor in here, as that's going to help keep the flow state up when you're in the boss fight. Another nice place to use the energy mines here is when you're doing the LTG steps and you're trying to protect the portal integrity. A well-positioned energy mine here is going to take care of the zombies whilst you run around and do things like pick up the canister, place it down on the traps, and maybe go and get some of the more Etherella statues if you're planning to use her. If you are doing this, keep an eye on the portal integrity meter though to make sure that your energy mine is actually taking care of the zombies. Generally you want the energy mine to be in as open a position as possible, so it has the best place to take out the zombies. Usually this is right on top of the actual LTG device. The path I just showed in the gameplay would have allowed you to pick up 5 of the Etherella statues. I'd actually already picked them up though. One word of warning though is that when the boss does actually spawn in, you may or may not want to be in flow state, as a single shot can kill him a lot more easily than you think. I did this a couple of times before realizing what was going on. A trick from the speedrunners here is buying stamina up if you've got the Hotfoot augment selected, will enable you to get a nice speed boost when carrying the canister back as long as you kill one of the zombies with your equipment. You can do this multiple times to make your journey back to the church a lot quicker. If you want to make this really easy for yourself, then you're probably going to want to go up to at least 25, as this is when the Wonder Fizz will spawn in on top of the bank, so you can buy as many perks as you want. I'd say the sweet spot though is Purple Mustangs at pack 2. This way it only costs 2,500 to buy more ammo, which you're probably going to need, and getting that extra 5,000 salvage for gold can take quite a bit of extra gameplay. You can see here that I had enough money to pack twice, but I didn't want to yet, as I had the energy mines down and I was in flow state, which meant I had loads of extra damage. Also saved me a round of ammo buying. While the Mustangs are great and they're a fan favourite on Liberty, the weak point here is buying ammo. Unless you go in with loads of extra dosh and you stand next to an ammo crate, you are going to find yourself getting hit out of flow state quite often. So don't rely on that as a mechanic for doing all of your damage. But it's not too difficult to go straight back into it, particularly if you've got a decoy for the zombies. I'm pretty sure that whilst I was in flow state here, the energy mines I put down earlier killed one of the manglers without me even seeing it, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I'd say maintaining flow state is actually harder than completing the egg itself. There's no difference to the actual structure of the boss fights and zombie snacks, so you're going to start off here by having to kill 3 manglers and a load of zombies. Just keep running loops around the room, blasting everything that's in your way and trying to keep an eye on your back as much as you can. That's going to help you maintain flow state. As you can see, I'm not having much trouble with the energy meter here. It's a good idea these sort of in-between phases to make sure that you pick up any snacks on the floor so you've filled up your energy. Another nice strategy that you could try maybe is putting both energy mines at one end and focusing your energy on the spawns at the other. Around this point though, if you haven't packed twice already and you're starting to run low on ammo, now's a good time to both buff your damage and refill your ammo stocks. The second phase of the encounter is going to see you needing to take down 2 HVTs, and wow, I think you've seen just how easy that is with flow state active. It's funny watching this back and realizing quite how many times I got caught when I really didn't need to. Did make a bit of a meal of this for myself, I have to admit. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is the Napalm Burst Ammo mod. This is kind of a big deal for killing manglers. It makes it so much easier to do as it's their elemental weakness. Pretty much every boss fight on Black Ops 6 works slightly differently. Liberty has a fixed difficulty no matter what level you go in on. So by going in earlier, you're actually making it a little bit harder for yourself. In this zombie snacks mode though, you've got the additional buff of flow state if you can maintain that. But why not make life super easy for yourself? Head up to 25 so you can benefit from the Wonder Fizz machine spawning in top of the bank. Get all of your extra perks, stuff like Deadshot, Double Tap, Speed Cola. Take your weapon pack up to 3. Build up some extra money to buy ammo with it. And maybe even shoot for gold rarity so that you can properly fly through this boss fight. It was fun doing this with the Mustangs, but having played the other modes with the Maelstrom, which is coming up next, I have to admit I'd probably go through this again and do it with that. It made such light work of absolutely everything it came in front of. If you are struggling keeping up your flow state though, another technique you can use is to make use of your Ether Shroud. Whilst you're in it, you're going to be able to deal the full extent of your flow state damage, which is absolutely crazy. We just one-shotted an HVT Mangler there. And that's it, we're in the final phase of the boss fight now. It's time to take down the Abomination. As you've seen with flow state, we've got so much damage that we could easily do this without Aetherella, but I just wanted to show you guys that it is still an option to use her, and I'm pretty sure you can benefit from even more damage from her whilst you're in flow state. A little trick you can use to get the most out of Aetherella is to wiggle your sticks back and forth so her eye is moving left and right across the target. For some reason this ends up doing way more damage than just keeping your eyes locked on the target. And to answer the important questions, yes, you can pick up zombie stacks whilst you're Aetherella. And that's it, we can finally take off the training wheels and go to the fun map, Terminus. So, welcome to Terminus. This is easily one of my favourite maps. It's got such a fun aura to it, and I think the side eggs are some of the best on any of the Black Ops 6 maps. I completely fell in love with it whilst watching the Scrappy Crappies world record speedruns. And I'd urge you to give it a go yourself, and see how many resets it takes you to get Jug Trap. I suggested using the Dragon's Breath attachment for the Maelstrom for the simple reason that it makes the early rounds much easier to manage, particularly whilst you're waiting to get down to pack or get some rarity on your gun. And as soon as you've got the flow state active, you're going to get an even bigger damage buff. Now there are a ton of different ways that you can play this first section. Personally, I like to stick the Rampage on and earn some points. That's just to make the best use of things like double points drops early on. However you choose to play, you're going to want to make sure you pick up Jug like we did on Liberty. Speed Cola is another perk that I'd heavily recommend whilst using the Maelstrom. Just don't forget to pick up your loose change. Next we're going to head upstairs and make use of the basketball Easter egg. This can be a little tricky to hit, but if you follow along with where I'm shooting, I'm sure you're going to get it too. You'll know you get it when you get a hit marker and the screen turns white like there's been a nuke. Next up, we're going to be inputting the code, killing the zombies to finish the round, and picking up our hard-earned points from the basketball egg. This is a nice way of earning 2,000 extra essence, and if you combine it with a C4 and a double points downstairs in the biolab, then you can earn a whopping 4,000. Just please remember to pick up the multiphasic injector. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten that. If you've got enough cash, then I'd also recommend buying Elemental Pop here, as we're going to be making plenty of use of the Dead Wire Ammo mod. Next up, it's time to head over to the orbs, and it's also very important to make sure you conduct at least one zombie kill with your boat. As you can see here, it's also definitely worth checking the treasure boxes in the water. I obviously got video luck and got a purple ether tool, but usually you're going to get some salvage and maybe a perk out of it. The next step's not essential if you've got flow state, but it does help for killing Nathan generally. Stand next to this bush, throw your C4 up there, and you can use this as an insta-kill for later. Next up with the perks, I definitely recommend buying Stamina Up. You can of course use Flopper to slide around at your will, but since you lose a bit more energy by sliding than you do just by running, I'm sticking with Stamina Up in these playthroughs. Now it's time to kill Nathan. You've got a bunch of tools you can use here. You've got energy mines that can help, you've got the insta-kill from the C4, and ideally you've got flow state as well. Just watch for a sneaky zombie attack behind you here. And you've also got Dead Wire and Elemental Pop, which do 50% more damage to Nathan. Anyway, sayonara Nathan, see you later when you turn into Patient 13. It's time to head over to the boat to pick up the nodes for the wire connecting. If you come armed with a shock charge and wait until the explosion sound is played, then you can throw the shock charge out the door and skip the entire lockdown phase. When it comes to actually connecting the wires, you're going to want to make sure you've plated up and you've got a good amount of energy. The Maelstrom will help you to absolutely rip through any of the zombies in your way here, so that you can safely connect the wires. This is a bit of a do as I say, not as I do moment, but as you can see, it was no trouble to quickly wipe out the zombies again and build up my energy. Once you've connected the wires, do take the opportunity to pick up any drops. You're probably going to have a bunch of salvage, plates and snacks available in these caves, or wherever else you've had to connect your wires. If you do get good wires on Crab Island, then you really can just nip in and out. Or you can take the opportunity to do one of the fun Easter eggs and earn yourself a perk, some salvage and some cash, and maybe even a gold weapon. To activate this egg, you have to hit this basket up here with some equipment. You then pull out your melee weapon, crouch down and start whacking at the crabs. That will trigger a 30-second timer where you've got to hit as many crabs as possible. The rewards are based on how many crabs you manage to hit. At this first spot, you've got the opportunity of getting a free perk. To have the chance of getting up to a gold rarity weapon, you can head to the left of the armor buy and have a go with this patch of crabs here. The next one's found directly opposite the tier 3 armor buy. This one's probably the most useful as it can reward you with a whole load of essence. I think I earned 4,000 essence from that. And finally you can finish off by earning some extra salvage. This last spot is found close to the crafting bench at the other end of the island. I didn't do too well here, so I didn't get a massive haul of salvage. Now don't sleep on the beam smasher. At the moment it's actually bugged so that when it's not packed you're hitting 15k damage and the damage actually drops when you pack it. On your way to pick up the hacking device from Peck, you may run across an AFK security guard. Very important to say hello and be polite. When it comes to doing the hacking step, once you've started to interact with the boy, you can actually change weapon and pull out a gun here. I like to use the secondary fire of the beam smasher to nullify the parasites. Lastly, we've got to defuse the bombs, and this is an easy place to throw your game away. You want to make sure you've got plenty of armor and plenty of energy stored up, as well as methods for keeping your zombies away from you whilst you're trying to defuse the bombs. Ether Shroud obviously works really well here, but you only have 2 charges. I like to use the decoys in between the 2 bottom bombs that you have to defuse, throwing it away from me as I'm running towards the next. This is also one of the only places in the game where I think smoke bombs are actually helpful. If you throw your smoke bomb inside the actual bomb disposal bit, that will provide you with all the cover you need to defuse a bomb. With all the damage you've got thanks to Flow State and the Maelstrom, it's also easy just to shoot everything. With the Amalgam's elemental weakness to dead wire, you're really not going to struggle too badly here. For the most fun, you want to hit to 25 so that you can access Wonder Fizz, buy all of the new perks like Double Tap, make sure you've got tier 3 armor, and maybe top up on decoys, stim charges, and make sure to fill up your field upgrade. I'd also try to make sure you're going in with Flow State active. The Terminus boss is a super interesting one because he has 4 different elemental weaknesses. In the first phase, he's weak to fire, so I guess you could come in with a second gun with Napalm Burst on it, but honestly, you don't need to. Targeting his red crit spots is the quickest way to get through this first phase. We're now going to have 60 seconds of fighting zombies until the boss comes back for the next phase. You're going to be bombarded with poison from the tentacles from afar, as well as from the bloody parasites above you. I always try and take them down first because they annoy the absolute living daylights out of me. Hopefully you get lots of dead wire activations here to make this a bit easier. It's a good time to pick up on snacks and manage your ammo and armor plates. If you want, you can run around the edge and shoot some of the tentacles. Although they regen super quick, so I honestly don't see the point in that. This is my only real gripe with this boss fight personally. It seems that if you make the effort to go and shoot with tentacles, they should stay down for a little longer than they do. But overall, I absolutely love this boss. He's got by far the best visual appearance in the entire game, and honestly, I just find this really, really fun. I think all the different elemental weaknesses really add something different to the fight. I think it's Donuts that has a great video explaining all of these. I know a lot of people like to run Napalm as the ammo mod here, but for me, the sections where he has weakness to the Napalm mod are actually some of the easiest in the entire fight, so I'd rather have something like Deadwire that helps with a slightly trickier phase. Deadwire also has the advantage of absolutely melting the amalgams that we have, and just generally for keeping the zombies at bay. Don't forget to use your equipment and ether shrouds to help keep up your flow state, as that's going to let you do this. Now we've just got one more in between phase with zombies to get through, and then the final phase with the boss. In this last phase, we're going to get an amalgam spawn, which your dead wire and flow state are going to make light work of. You're also going to get a series of manglers, so you're going to be getting loads of snacks dropping on the floor here. As you've seen, I like to play most of the boss fight from this front area. You really don't need to be running around the outside, but if the boss fight gets too hot for any reason, you can always run a quick loop. When I was talking about augment setups at the beginning of the video, I recommended to use extension on Ether Shroud for the most part. Terminus is one place where I would actually use the 2 charges mode. As you saw earlier, this helps massively when dealing with the bombs, but actually you can do so much damage so quickly here that having an extended charge is almost a bit of a waste. Unfortunately, you're about to witness me have a bit of a meltdown and press so many different buttons wrong at the same time. I could easily have just been in flow state and taken them out super quick, but instead I had one wrong button press after another. But it was pretty fun to see some damage being done with the death machine. In this final phase, the boss has a couple of configurations. One is the sort of blue arched up phase when you're going to want to break your weak points on his eyes, and the other is when he's going to try and grab you with his tongue. Either way, just use up your decoys and ether charges that you've got left, try and get back into flow state so that you can finish him off with a big bang. A quick PSA, if you do get caught by his tongue, then you can still shoot all the way up until he's about to eat you. And if you manage to do enough damage whilst he's grabbed you, you can actually get him to drop you. Moving on to Citadel now, I like to start off by going and seeing this mouse. That's going to be helpful later on. And then throwing the C4. This is for the insta-kill. Now, if you've got flow state, you're not going to need it, but it can help killing the doppel by the pack machine if you don't happen to have flow state. And don't forget to pick up the cheese. It's worthwhile doing for some extra essence, even if you don't intend on finding all 10 mice. Once you've opened up pack, you're laughing, particularly if you're using a maelstrom again like I am. You really don't have to do the full Rat King egg here. I just find it fun. And you never know, you might get a decent reward out of it, like a cashmere, or maybe you get a free dead wire, something like that. Moving on to the first pain point of the egg here, and trust me, this bit does actually suck. The parasites are pretty much the bane of your existence whilst you're doing this mode. Because I'd already put dead wire on my gun, I couldn't use that to thin out the non-golden ones here, in case that killed everything. It's a bit of a case of just putting your dancing shoes on and getting your shots in whilst you can, and then running around the corner. Slightly annoyingly, I'd already used my shock charge to get the electric rod from the fuse box here, as it might be a good idea to use that to stick them in place for a couple of seconds at least. Anyway, once you're done, you're going to be able to refill your energy with Solace. Now, doing the Raven Sword upgrade isn't so much a pain point, but just a recommendation to do this whilst you've got one zombie at the end of the round. And since you're going to be running around in circles here, I'd also advise you to go into this with full energy. If you kill the zombie shortly after you've completed the second portal, you should be able to do the third one before most of the round spawns in. Now, my top tip here is just to have stamina up. It makes it so much easier to get around, and you'll find yourself missing way less of these green orbs. All you've got to do is run through them before they disappear. Again, the Maelstrom is going to do a fantastic job at clearing the way for you as you're running around. If you're really struggling with this step, then it's not a bad time to use an Ether Shroud charge, or maybe even some decoys. And in this room is a free full power upgrade that you can use. And when you're done with all the egg steps, it's a case of just getting to 25 and getting strong. I found it really easy to keep up the flow state by standing on the stairs here, and that put me in a good position to use the Wonder Fizz machine when that spawns in. You could also happily stick the Rampage on and play a few rounds pretty quickly doing this. And if you're really struggling with the boss fight, then it might be a good idea to go all the way up to 55. That way you can make use of the max power field upgrades and score streaks, which will absolutely melt the Guardian. Now, for pretty much the first time ever, stims are actually goated in this boss fight. Each stim will heal you 50 energy points, and trust me, they're going to be really useful. Now, for sword choice, there's basically two options. You're either going to take the Raven Sword and use that special ability to do loads of damage to the boss, or you can take Solace and use that special ability to give you extra heals. Unless you're super confident at using the sword strat to take the boss down, my recommendation would be to take Solace here. Now, whilst you are spinning rounds ahead of going into the boss fight, it's not a bad idea to try a trial or two. This is actually the first time ever I think I've managed to do the LDBR one. You might end up getting a wrench and some extra salvage from it. That can help with your gun rarity. I did do my boss fight with purple rarity, but given the chance to have any possible extra damage, I would definitely take in a gold gun. So to the boss fight now, and trust me guys, this one is a stinker unless you're properly prepared. I'm going to show you two strats here, with the first one being the sword strategy. It's a great idea not to start off the encounter by wasting a stim when you're actually meant to be activating Ether Shroud. You want to try and time the use of your Ether Shroud to just before he's about to become active. This way you can make the most use of the Shroud. I like to break the armor on both of his legs, a hand and maybe even his shoulder before the Ether charge runs out and you need to focus. You want to be standing in front of his left leg. This is because there's a small window where you can avoid taking damage from his stomp attacks. Each time he lunges forwards with his right leg, you're going to move slightly to the right. It might take a bit of trial and error to get the sweet spot here, and whilst you're finding that spot, you've got the stims to keep topping up your health. As long as you keep swinging, you're going to get through the phase before you realise it. If your energy gets too low, then don't forget you've got the Soleil's special ability, which I'd recommend you doing once he goes immune anyway. So why am I recommending this strat at all? First of all, it reduces your movement and therefore energy loss. Second of all, it nullifies all his long-range attacks, which in my opinion are the hardest things to avoid in this fight, and most likely to cause you to fail. But it can be quite hard to master, and I've got a much easier strat for you coming up now. So, for this next strat, the most important parts actually take place during the immune phases. This is where we're going to be making use of the fetid upgrade augment from Volterade. Pretty much our entire goal is to make sure that we get an ether charge back. We're also going to be using the sword to start off with to make sure that we recharge the special ability. So Volterade is going to drop these yellow clouds, and you'll know that you're getting a recharge on your Ether Shroud as you'll see the full power symbols all over your screen. You can see there just how quickly you can get another charge back. Once you've seen that your sword is recharged and you've got another Shroud charge back, you can switch over to the Maelstrom and get back into flow state. This should be pretty easy as it will absolutely melt all the zombies in front of it. Each of the immune phases lasts 60 seconds, and a nice tip is to bring up the scorecard menu as soon as he goes immune. That way you can look at the timer of your game and work out exactly how long you have until the next damage phase. That way you can make best use of your Ether Shroud timing to preserve your flow state and do max damage to the boss. You'll want to proc Ether Charge as soon as you see that he's available to damage again, and at this point, as long as you've got your flow state, you're going to be absolutely laughing. You can see here that I was able to finish off an entire damage phase and break new bits of armor. Another nice tip is that when you're coming to the end of your Ether Shroud, you can start targeting another armor piece, as it staggers him each time you break one of these. You can see here that I was temporarily knocked out of flow state by one of his attacks. I used a pool of zombies in front of me, and with the help of dead wire, I was instantly able to return to flow state and finish the damage off. Now we've entered another immune phase, your job is to restore your energy again. You may well have drops this time, or you can just use the Soleil's special ability of your sword. We're then going to repeat the process of killing zombies, standing in the fetid upgrade from Volterade, recharging our sword's special ability, and then switching back over to the Maelstrom to re-enter flow state. You might find that you've slightly got to stand your ground here, but I would prioritise doing that and building back another charge of your Ether Shroud over worrying about your energy level at this point. That's because you've always got the Soleil's special ability in the bank to restore your energy. And particularly for this final phase, we're going to be killing him, so you're not going to need to recharge your energy at the end. You can see here that I really just hacked out until my Ether Charge was very nearly back. I then procced Soleil's special ability to give me all of my energy back, killed off a few zombies, and started trying to look for either the electric or the fire incantation. That's because the amalgam was spawning in soon, and I wanted a really easy way to kill him. Using these incantations is actually a great way to quickly get back into flow state. There's also going to be a max ammo drop, which is going to recharge Soleil's anyway. Having used the electric incantation to kill the amalgam and a few extra zombies, I'm already back in Ether Shroud and flow state, and ready to finish off the boss. I'm not going to lie, this one felt pretty good to get done. This was my third attempt at doing it, as it took me the first 2 attempts to try and work out the right strat for this. Since the Guardian has a hard damage cap, you want to prioritise a weapon that has a high rate of fire. You could of course try a weapon like the AMR Mod 4, which is meta for damage, but I don't think you'll have an easier time of it than this. If you're planning to use Gobblegums, then I suggest using the ones I had in the pack here. The Arsenal Accelerator to recharge your field upgrade more quickly, Insta-Kill for extra damage, and Full Power for the extra Ether Charge. And kicking things off at the tomb now. See, I'm using the ASG this time round. I just wanted to see if it had been fixed post-patch. Treyarch made a change at the end of last season to change how the gun shot, and I wanted to see if they'd fixed it. Unfortunately, they haven't really, at least not if you're using Dragon's Breath on it, which is kind of sad because it's kind of the go-to gun for speedruns. Anyway, the team is really easy to play with the Rampage on, at least up to round 8, which we need to get to anyway to get the Looking Glass from the Shock Mimic. You don't have to do this of course, so just play how you want to. Our first real goal is just to get down to the Dark Ether, get Jug, and make use of the free Pack-a-Punch Easter egg. The lockdowns to get the parts for the Ice Staff are really easy to main flow state in. You just stay outside the area where the zombies are spawning in. Then when you head into the Dark Ether to place the parts in the altar to actually craft it, it's really easy just to plonk 2 energy mines down at the top and run down to the bottom. Then you just want to focus on taking out the parasites, and you'll get this step done super easily. When it comes to shooting with lanterns, I find this much easier to get done on the stamina upside. You can hit the first 2 really quickly like this and then run into the cavern to get the last one. There are no real differences to the stage when you're following the orb to upgrade the Ice Staff, just keep your distance and try and maintain flow state. And when you get the Ice Staff fully upgraded, you are cooking. You can enter the flow state at will just by plonking down a charge anywhere on the map. I can't reiterate enough how unnecessary it is to get the golden armor, but I couldn't resist from trying it. In this mode, the stims do work to restore your energy, so load up on stims before heading up and starting the ritual. Then as soon as you do start it, you can use up all of your stims to give yourself full energy. At this point, it's just a case of entering flow state and plopping down some shots with the Ice Staff. Even with flow state, if you've got a pack 1 shotgun, you're not going to do a tremendous amount of damage with that. But with the Ice Staff, you're going to find that you end up insta-killing them, making this by far and away the easiest way to get golden armor in the game. Too bad it's only here till the end of Season 3. Usual rules still apply in that it's a good idea to have Cryo Freeze on your bullet weapon when you're doing the Shock Mimic ones, and a nice idea to have Light Mend when you're doing the Doppelgasts. I always tend to forget this, so the Mimics are triggered by the bottom statue and the Doppels are triggered by the top statue. If I was doing it again, I would plonk down a couple of charges of the Ice Staff before triggering the ritual. And if you do get in a bind whilst you're trying to do it, then don't forget you can just leave the starting area by going into any of the cavern entrances, and that will cancel it out. So moving on to the only bit of this whole egg that was actually anywhere near a bit of a pain, and that's the Parasite lockdown. As I mentioned before, parasites are your mortal enemy in this mode as they make it really easy to get knocked out of flow state. So when you're doing this phase, make sure you're strong enough on your bullet weapon to kill easily without flow state, and just get this bit done old school. And don't forget that once you've hit round 21 or over, you can go and hit the waterfalls here with the Cryo Freeze ammo mod or the Ice Staff, and you're going to get a free legendary ether tool. Once you're wrapped up with the egg and seen the pretty colours in the sky, and damn, this is actually a really beautiful room, you can then go park up where Wonder Fizz is going to spawn in, and pass the time killing some zombies until you can get all of your perks. Unfortunately, with the way the damage works on the Sentinel artifact, perks like Double Tap don't end up making that much of a difference beyond the fire rate. I'd say that the only ones that are really essential to have here are Jug, Stamina, Speed Cola, Double Tap just for the fire rate, and actually Depth Perception is also pretty handy, particularly when paired with the High Contrast mode, as that gives you really easy visuals of where the enemies are. Now get ready for the easiest boss fight of all time. I put down some energy mines just because I still had it, and they're going to help clear zombies. But what we really need to do for the first 4 phases of this is lie down next to the Sentinel artifact, wait until it's gone up, come back down again and gone back up, plonk down a final Ice Staff shot, and then you can start doing your damage. If you bought Vulture Raid, then you can make use of it to charge your field upgrades back up again if you've switched to something like Ether Shroud or Frenzied. But really this is just going to be a case of rinsing and repeating, until you get the first special enemy spawn in. You will be able to skip a couple of phases by shooting multiple instances of a Sentinel artifact in each damage phase. I'm leaving the full gameplay in just to show you exactly how easy it is and so you can see what I've done, and I'll tune back in when we get the first special zombie spawn in. So that's the first phase of the boss fight done. Next up, we've got the special zombies. The heavy zombie is actually going to spawn in exactly where we've been lying down for the first phase. As long as you're in flow state, a single charge shot from the ice staff is going to kill him. It's not a problem if you get whacked by any of the zombies that also spawn in here. You can just make a little bit of space and put down another charge shot of the ice staff, and you'll soon be back in flow state. And pretty quickly you're going to have the doppelganger spawn in. More than likely it's going to get caught up in the charged shots you've put down. So don't go too far and keep an eye out so you don't miss the artifact being dropped. With all the power that you have with flow state, I'm pretty sure that you could just stand in the middle next to the artifact pedestal and continuously put down charge shots from the ice staff. But to give you an easier strat that's going to make this feel dead easy, I'd find one of these segments that has the rectangular rock blocks in them. You can stand in the corner and continuously put down charged ice staff shots, and it will kill everything that comes towards you. The only thing that it might not kill immediately is the amalgam, and that's why we've chosen to sit next to this block. You can use it as an obstacle for the amalgam, causing the amalgam to continuously mantle over it whilst he's in the range of a charged ice shot blast. It really won't take long to kill him like this, and then you'll be able to finish off the encounter. There's usually a few extra zombies that spawn in at the end here, so use them to make sure that you're in flow state, approach the final altar positioning, and that's it. You'll have completed the easiest run through of a tomb that you'll ever have. And now we can head over to Shattered Vale to go fight Rexy. I followed the same type of process that I have on the other maps by completing a bunch of rounds in the starting area just to get a load of points. As a reminder, I've got my Shattered Vale guide up, it's linked in the description and probably showing on the screen here, to help out if you're unsure of any of the Easter egg steps. But with the added power of flow state, I'm sure you guys are going to fly through this egg. In fact, there are a couple of funny parts where you can end up having too much damage. Here's an example when you're doing the Abomination stat. You'll want to make sure that you're not in flow state if you do try to interrupt his laser attack, otherwise you're going to kill him. A general pointer for completing the vermin portion of this step is just to have a couple of energy mines. As soon as the last rock has been hit and is up in the air, you can put your energy mines down in the middle and they'll take care of all the vermin as you run away and move on to another part of the egg. Since Shattered Vale doesn't have regular spawns of special zombies, you get more zombies per round, which is perfect for this combination of the Maelstrom and flow state. As long as you've got Deadwire on, you'll be able to take out huge hordes at a time, with the obligatory double points drop as soon as you finish killing everything. Coming up next is a clip of me running Lightmend instead of Deadwire. You might think it's a great choice to run because of the heals you get from the glyphs, but particularly at a stage like the Seeds, which can be a bit of a pain point, trust me, you'll be much better off with Deadwire. Or you can follow the speedrun strategy for doing all of the seed pods at once. This is a clip from my Shattered Vale guide explaining how to do it. You start off by throwing a C4 at the nuke. This will work as long as you hit your C4 anywhere on the blue top. You're also going to need to have a Cashmere Grenade and a full charge of Frenzied Guard with Extension Augment on. Any of the ray gun variants work well here. I tend to have it with the purple version, but there's no reason you can't use any of the others. Once you're prepared, you're going to return to the conservatory and place the canister. You're then going to plant the first 2 seeds upstairs before heading downstairs and planting one of the downstairs seeds. As soon as you've planted the 3rd seed downstairs, you're going to want to throw your cashmere into this area with the covered statue. And immediately after throwing your cashmere, you're going to go plant the last seed. You can come and stand back in the room where you threw the cashmere and wait for it to finish. And a second or so after the cashmere finishes, you're going to want to activate Frenzied Guard. This will cause all the zombies to pass through you for 15 seconds. Towards the end of your charge with Frenzied Guard, you're going to activate your C4. This can easily be done with a double tap of your interact button. And then a second or so after your Frenzied Guard runs out, you're going to run over the nuke, which will obviously get rid of all of the zombies. At this point, you just need to provide a few seconds cover on the downstairs seeds as the final zombies spawn in. And that's it, you'll have done all 4 seeds in less than a minute. Another place that you're not going to want to be in flow state is when you're trying to brainwash a zombie to ring the bell. I'm showing a quick clip here of using Frenzied Guard with the Frenzy Fire augment on. The huge advantage of this is that you're going to be able to continuously fire and finish off pretty much an entire phase within 1 charge of your Frenzy. The only downside is that it's much harder to maintain flow state whilst you're in Frenzied. But now I'm going to show the full boss fight whilst using Ether Shroud. If you can, it's a good idea to go into the boss fight with flow state active. That way you're going to get the first phase out of the way in a matter of seconds. The only downside to using the Maelstrom is that it doesn't have a long range. If you can get up close, you'll actually end up doing pretty much double the damage that you will elsewhere, and that's without flow state. Don't forget to get your last bit of damage in after he's jumped outside of the pit. The immune phases are so much easier with the Maelstrom. You can kite the zombies around a bit, and then if you've got any decoys, throw those out to make killing them super easy. And hopefully return yourself to flow state by the time that Rexy jumps down again. If you're running Picky Eater on Vulture Raid, then you're probably going to see these decoys return to you. Last thing is just to make sure you've got enough ammo and armor plates for the next damage phase. I'd made a slight mistake here as I'd forgotten to change my augments so that I had extension on Ether Shroud. Whilst not hugely important, it does make doing the yellow portal quest section of the egg much easier, and also gives you a lot more time to lay down your damage in flow state here at the boss fight. A great time to do damage to the boss is when he's spewing the toxic gas out. You usually have an easy shot on his eyes as one of the crit spots. I could have done some extra damage as he jumped out here, but I noticed that my energy level was a little low, so I focused on picking up some of the snacks and ammo, before repeating the same process as earlier and wiping out the zombies using some decoys to try and enter flow state again. It's a nice idea to proc your ether charge pretty much as soon as he jumps down. This is going to protect your flow state and enable you to get the maximum amount of damage down. He'll be jumping back out before you know it. I didn't manage to capture it, but one of the times I was doing this boss fight, he jumped down, and because I'd done so much extra damage on him before then, as soon as he was down, he jumped straight back up again, which was pretty funny to see. And to finish him off, you just need to channel your inner Rambo, enter flow state, pop an ether shroud, and he'll be gone, leaving you able to celebrate on top of his corpse, if you can remember how to emote, that is. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, I hope this has been helpful and that you have lots of fun in the zombie snacks mode. Don't forget about the competition and hopefully I'll see you in a game.